The Great Depression was the worst economic crisis in modern history. It shattered economies, destroyed livelihoods, and changed governments around the world. For millions of people, it was not just a financial collapse, but a daily struggle to survive. Understanding how the Great Depression began helps us understand how fragile economic systems can be. This story begins in the years of prosperity before the crash, when few could imagine how quickly everything would fall apart. The Roaring Twenties, a false sense of prosperity. The 1920s were a decade of rapid economic growth in the United States. Factories produced cars, radios, appliances, and consumer goods at unprecedented levels. New technologies and mass production made products cheaper and more accessible. Many Americans believed prosperity was permanent. The stock market soared as more people invested their savings, hoping to get rich quickly. Buying stocks on margin became common, allowing investors to borrow money to buy shares. This practice inflated stock prices far beyond their real value. Beneath the surface, however, the economy was deeply unbalanced. Wages did not rise at the same pace as productivity. Farmers struggled with falling crop prices and debt after World War I. Wealth became concentrated in the hands of a small percentage of the population. Overproduction and underconsumption. American factories produced more goods than people could afford to buy. This problem is known as overproduction. While shelves were full, many families lacked the income to purchase what was produced. Businesses responded by cutting prices, wages, and jobs. As workers earned less, they spent less, creating a vicious cycle. This imbalance weakened the economy long before the stock market crashed. Farmers were among the hardest hit. New machinery increased production, but global demand declined. Crop prices collapsed, leaving farmers unable to repay loans. Rural banks began to fail, spreading financial instability. The stock market crash of 1929, in October 1929, confidence in the stock market began to collapse. On October 24th, known as Black Thursday, millions of shares were sold in panic. Investors rushed to unload stocks as prices began to fall rapidly. The situation worsened on October 29th, Black Tuesday. Stock prices plummeted with no buyers in sight. Fortunes were wiped out in a matter of hours. Banks that had invested depositors' money in the stock market suffered massive losses. Many were unable to recover. The crash destroyed confidence in the financial system and marked the beginning of the Great Depression. Bank failures and financial collapse. After the crash, fear spread through the banking system. People rushed to withdraw their savings, triggering bank runs. Banks lacked enough cash to meet demands and began to close. Between 1930 and 1933, thousands of banks failed. When a bank collapsed, depositors lost their life savings. There was no federal insurance to protect their money. As banks failed, businesses lost access to credit. Without loans, companies could not expand or even operate. This led to more layoffs, bankruptcies, and economic contraction. Mass unemployment and human suffering. Unemployment rose at an unprecedented rate. By 1933, nearly 1 in 4 Americans was out of work. Factories shut down, construction halted, and businesses closed permanently. Families lost their homes and were forced into poverty. Shantytowns known as Hoovervilles appeared near cities. People relied on soup kitchens and bread lines for survival. Children left school to help support their families. Malnutrition and homelessness became widespread. The emotional toll was immense, as many felt shame and hopelessness. The Dust Bowl worsens the crisis. Environmental disaster compounded economic suffering. Severe droughts struck the Great Plains in the early 1930s. Poor farming practices led to massive dust storms. Crops failed, farms were abandoned, and families were forced to migrate west. The Dust Bowl deepened poverty and displaced millions. It showed how economic collapse and environmental crisis could reinforce one another. Global spread of the Depression. The Great Depression was not limited to the United States. American banks called in loans from Europe. International trade collapsed as countries raised tariffs to protect their economies. The global economy contracted sharply. Unemployment soared worldwide. Political instability increased, contributing to the rise of extremist movements in several countries. The economic chaos of the Great Depression would later play a role in the outbreak of World War II. Government response and early failures. President Herbert Hoover initially believed the economy would correct itself. The federal government took limited action during the early years. Public confidence continued to fall as conditions worsened. Relief efforts were slow and inadequate. Many Americans lost faith in leadership. This paved the way for major political change in the 1932 election. Conclusion: why the beginning matters. The Great Depression did not begin overnight. It was the result of years of economic imbalance, speculation, and inequality. The stock market crash was the spark, but deeper weaknesses fueled the disaster. The beginning of the Great Depression reshaped economic policy, government responsibility, and public expectations. It changed how nations thought about regulation, social safety nets, and financial systems. The lessons learned remain relevant today, reminding us how quickly prosperity can vanish without balance and oversight. The Great Depression stands as a warning from history. It shows that economic systems are human creations vulnerable to greed, fear, and mismanagement. Understanding its beginnings helps ensure that such a catastrophe is never repeated.